Hello everybody, Road Warrior 627 here, and welcome back to another episode of One Turn Route for the horses, for the fans, and this is an episode for the fans. It's episode number 8 of One Turn Route that's been in the work for some time. I finally decided to record it. I had to wait for a few things to happen, and those things have happened, so I'm getting ready to start it. So this episode was planned out a couple of months ago, and I was going to use it to talk about the greatest schism in horse racing, the racetracks and the fans. Well, after some more consideration of what I had experience with, and also consideration of an announcement I heard was going to happen in early July, and just did happen a couple of days ago, I decided to wait and make it just specifically about the racetrack I talk about all the time, which is beautiful Belmont Park. So I decided to transfer the video from talking about the relationship between racetracks and fans to specifically about Belmont and how NYRA is tarnishing the legacy of the racetrack. So what does tarnishing the legacy mean? Well, it means taking a legacy and slowly stripping away all the good things that contribute to it. Now, Belmont has so many things going for it in my eye that will be hard to do completely. But certainly there are some things that have happened this meet and over the previous few years that are not good that I need to talk about, or at least feel the need to talk about. Maybe you don't think they're important, but I just wanted to get this stuff out there with my thoughts. So what is the legacy of beautiful Belmont Park? I think of it as the most historic venue in American horse racing, the best place to watch horse racing in American horse racing. You can get close to the horses before the race and have a perfect view of the race as well. You have a great atmosphere of families, of New York degenerate gamblers. It's a really good mix and quite a unique atmosphere as compared to Aqueduct, which is almost all hardcore, and Saratoga, which is more that country fair party atmosphere. That's what makes it such a great place. So we're going to talk about some things that NYRA has done recently to combat that legacy and drag it down a little bit as a real fan-friendly place to both hardcore horse players and more casual fans. And we're also going to start off by talking about some things they've done well, which serve as examples as to what they should do in the future. So we're going to break this video down into 3 parts. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So before we get into the video, you might be aware that I made a video back in early 2021 titled To NYRA, Don't Destroy Belmont Park. That video was more about the grandstand, about the building itself. That was an hour and 15-minute rambling video that tried to explain my reasons for not doing that. While all of what I said in that video holds true to my opinions today, this video is more about fan experience throughout the entire place. It's not about the building, it's about things that they've done that I don't like. So we're going to give you some examples of several different things, but we're going to start first with the good. We're going to talk about things that NYRA has done good at Belmont to show that there is some hope out there. They just have to care about the fans. So let's talk about some good things. First thing that came to my mind is that they haven't raised admission to get into Belmont in 9 or 10 years. When I was growing up, it used to be $3 to get into the grandstand and $5 to get into the clubhouse. Not bad. Eventually, they made it $5 to go anywhere. I think that's a pretty good idea because I used to always want to go over to the clubhouse and check it out. Now you can just go anywhere you want, and I don't think $5 is that bad. They also redid the backyard following the destruction from the Islanders Arena. Now, that was something I believe NYRA had very little control over because it's state land and it wasn't protected. God knows if they tried to do something up at Saratoga, there'd be a public outcry. I'm not sure why there wasn't here, but originally they just took about 10 to 15% of the backyard. Eventually, they took about half the backyard. I thought there was going to be a hotel there, at least that's what the plans were. Well, it turns out they didn't even build something as useful as a hotel and just put a VIP parking lot. That took away the duck pond, it took away trees, grass, picnic tables, all that great stuff. I'm very happy to say that NYRA did show at least a little bit of care for the fans. Why? Because they redid the backyard, specifically right behind the paddock. In a previously underutilized area, they put new tables with umbrellas. The trees are still there. They put down AstroTurf. I wish it was regular grass, but at least it looks green and it's pretty soft. There's cornhole games, and it's pretty wide open. It really reminds you of what Belmont Park used to be in the backyard. So that's good to see. Another good thing that we haven't seen is signs of catering to luxury jerks. People that come to the racetrack once or twice a year, probably on Belmont Stakes Day, and if NYRA ever gets the Breeders' Cup again, Breeders' Cup Day, I'm talking about building luxury areas in places where there are currently areas for regular fans. So in essence, that would be taking away grandstand seating to put in AC and heat, in other words, climate-controlled suites and stuff like that, or upscale dining. You know that's never going to work on a regular basis at a place like Belmont. The clientele is just not there. It's not going to happen. Well, luckily, so far, they've realized that, and I'm hoping if they ever do rebuild the grandstand, that that's not a major focus, although I'm worried that that will be. But at least I'm not seeing them jump the gun on that just yet. And then one more good thing they've done, and this is more of a personal thing for me, the third floor was open most of this meet. A lot of people don't understand why I love the third floor at Belmont so much. People say it's run down, it's quiet, hardly anybody goes up there. Well, I know people that do go up there, pretty good crowd that goes up there regularly. And why do we go up there? Because it's the best place to watch a sporting event in the entire country. And you can sit there by just walking in and paying your $5. Sit right on the finish line, expansive view of the racetrack. You bring your binoculars, you are as golden as could possibly be. It's really hard to beat that. There's plenty of space, you could spread out, it's a very comfortable experience, and in my opinion, it's unbeatable. It was closed earlier in the meet. I guess they were trying to clean up the bird shit that was up there, but they did eventually open it right before the Belmont Stakes and left it open through the meet. Now, there's been thoughts about trying to winterize the grandstand at Belmont. That's never going to work. They'd have to build a new one, which is what I'm worried about. But if they don't wind up running at Belmont through the winter, they could still enclose the current inside area of the third floor grandstand. Don't enclose the seats. That's a terrible idea. No seats at any racetrack should ever have glass in front of them. What they could do is put glass between the current inside or indoor area. It's open air though, so you can have birds flying and all that stuff. You can cut that off and just have doors like you have on the clubhouse side. That would also allow you to put in heat, and you wouldn't need AC because it never really gets that hot up there because you get the draft. They could have windows that open or close based on what they want to do as well. So it's not something that needs to go away. They can adapt as long as they decide to keep Aqueduct open, which I'm not sure about, and hoping they do for both Aqueduct's sake and the sake of them not ruining Belmont in the future. But at least for the moment, they decided to leave the third floor open for us fans to enjoy. I really appreciate that. And they really don't even need to leave the whole place open. They could just leave sections J through O open. Those seats right before and right on the finish line, those are the real golden seats at Belmont. So those were some good things that happened this meet. Let's talk about some bad things that happened this meet. And what do I mean by bad and things that contribute to ruining the legacy? Belmont, to me, is a very fan-friendly track that treats the fan as somebody who's important. So while the racetrack and the way it's set up is very, very catering to the fans, there have been some things that NYRA has done themselves that has shown that they don't seem to care about the fans. And the first thing you might laugh at me for, but that's parking. Parking is now $5. You have to park in the silver preferred lot unless you want to take a giant long walk or you want to park on the street. You might think $5 is really nothing. Well, remember, you're going to this place to gamble and you're also already paying $5 to get in. So that's really not good in my opinion. And second of all, and this is even worse, everything with parking now at Belmont is automated with a credit card or parking passes. NYRA does not have the best Wi-Fi. There were multiple instances this past meet where there were cars lined up because the guy who was taking the credit cards to do the parking, the Wi-Fi on his little device to scan the cards was slow. So they had to wait for it to get approved, and that created a 15 to 20 deep line extending all the way back to the entrance. Not cool. Also, Belmont Stakes Day. This is a personal experience of mine. My $40 Emerald parking pass. Emerald lot used to be the green lot, is the one all the way on the other side of the racetrack. I paid $40 for this thing back in February. I pull up and they scan it and they scan it and they scan it. It doesn't work. I'm really getting frustrated, and at some point they just let me in because they're just so frustrated and I'm so frustrated. Just take cash. It's not that hard. You already take cash to place bets. Please just take cash for parking if you're going to charge for parking. Don't make something that shouldn't exist, which is paying for parking, get even worse. It's really, really annoying. Might not be important to other people, but it's important to me. I will point out that I guess their Wi-Fi did get better later in the meet because I didn't encounter those problems anymore, but the first few times I went, it was a disaster. Another thing that might not seem that important, but I just talked about how much I love the third floor. There were so many times this meet, especially the last 2 days when I went, that the escalators were not working. I don't know if you've ever seen any shots at Belmont in the middle of the night, but it seems like they leave the lights on all night long there. I don't know if that's a liability issue or whatever it is, or it's hard to turn them off, but they didn't have the escalators on while people were actually there to get between the first and the second floors in some cases, and almost all cases between the second and third floor. To me, that's something that is so simple to do, it's really just a slap in the face. We don't care. I'm young. I could take my steps. I don't care. But there's older people that want to sit up there and don't want to have to climb up all those steps. What about them? Just turn the damn escalator on, especially the ones that are near the finish line where most people are. You got to be able to do that. And then one last thing here in this bad section, food prices. Now, people might say, oh, well, they're pretty much falling in line with other sporting venues because Citi Field and Yankee Stadium and even the minor league stadiums, the prices are out of control, so they have every right to be too. I don't think so. I think that makes them worse. You're already paying to get in. You're already paying 15% into the pools. They could at least give you some kind of deal when you're buying food. As you can see, these are the prices up there right now on the menu at Belmont on the first floor at the Finish Line Grill. No real good deals here. There used to be a meal deal not many years ago that was pretty good. You got all three things for, I forget if it was, I think it was 12 and then it went up to 14. Now you have to buy a lot of things separately. Not good. I don't think it's an excuse that other places do this. I went to Monmouth for the Haskell a week ago, and the prices there compared to Belmont were much more reasonable. It's funny how they charge you so much to buy stuff there, but at least you can still bring stuff in of your own if you want. Unless you bring that stuff in a cooler of a certain size. And if you want to bring in outside alcohol, good luck with that. Now we're going to move on to the last part of this video, which is the ugly. These are the things that NYRA has really done to sink the fan experience at Belmont, and the number one thing has to be the new cooler policy. I talked about it before the meet in the preview. I talked about it after the meet in the review, and I'm going to talk about it again because I think it's this bad. If you've been living under a rock or don't go to Belmont, you might not know that they banned coolers from the backyard over 12 by 12 by 6 inches, essentially a personal sized cooler. If you want to bring in that, a cooler of larger size or alcoholic beverages, you need to sit in the top of the stretch area and walk all the way to the top of the stretch gate to get in there. Doing so requires that you pay $15 to sit there instead of the normal $5 to get in. So pretty much anyone that wants to bring in a regular size larger cooler, right, or wants to bring in their own booze has to pay an extra $10. Now, is this thing going on up at Saratoga? Absolutely not. Because Saratoga, oh, it's tradition to bring in your coolers. Well, guess what? It was a tradition at Belmont too, and they're screwing over everybody that likes to hang out in the backyard. And a good chunk of the people that go to Belmont regularly, and the more casual people, the backyard is where they hang out. And a big reason why they did is that they could drink as much as they want, at least within reason. There's security there still. If anybody gets out of line, they can take them out. So let's talk about the reason why this is the worst. The reason why this is the worst is their reason for implementing it. They said that the smaller backyard from the Islanders Arena has increased security concerns and required the new policy. That's bogus. If you have a smaller backyard, doesn't that mean it's easier to see what other people are doing? Easier to see if other people get out of control? That makes no sense. It's an absolute money grab. It's terrible. They need to bring back all you can bring in next year. Take anything you want in wherever you want, so long as you don't become a total dick about it and get totally drunk and start ruining the place for other people. That's when you draw the line. But reducing the size of a cooler and forcing you to sit somewhere for extra money is an absolute joke. Another joke: Belmont Stakes ticket prices. Ticket prices for the Belmont Stakes have risen sharply in recent years. Let's take a look back. American Pharoah's Triple Crown year. It was $15 advance. This year it was $30 advance. Doubled in just 7 years' time later. The regular admission has not gone up at all. They're price gouging. How about the cheapest reserve seats that I sit in when I go to the Belmont Stakes? $60. And if you want to buy reserve seats, and if you don't know that you can get them through the NYRA box office, or you want to get them the first day they go on sale, you're going to buy them through Ticketmaster, which has a ton of fees. And guess what? You're also going to have to pick up a parking pass that either costs $40 to go park on the other side of the racetrack and be shuttled in, or that usual $5 you're going to pay to park in the Silver Preferred lot. Let's tack on another $90 on Belmont Stakes Day. That sounds like a good idea. It really just, if I didn't care so much about Belmont Stakes Day, I would easily be turned away by stuff like that. And I'm sure that the prices have turned people away. At least people who don't want to give them the money just to be able to drive there and get in. It's totally ridiculous. Right here next to me, I have a program from the 1998 Belmont Stakes, the year that Real Quiet lost to Victory Gallop. This was 24 years ago. Now, of course, there has been inflation since then. But let's open up the book and take a look what the prices were to get in. Belmont Stakes Day admission and reserve seats. General Grandstand admission, $2. Clubhouse admission, $4. Let's just say it's all $4. With inflation, that's around $15, $16 now. And that's at worst. I'm just using a 4 times estimate. It's probably even less than that. Grandstand reserve seats. So, for instance, something that I would buy now. My $65 ticket is included in that, but also all the way down to the 16th pole, $5. And then preferred grandstand and clubhouse seats, all of them. No matter what the section, it's none of this, oh, we're going to increase it $20 for every 3 or 4 sections over. No, they were all the same, and getting the good seats does not mean you paid more money. It meant that you bought the tickets ahead of time and you were excited to go. Those seats, which includes those third floor seats on the finish line that you could sit on a regular day for $5 now, Belmont Stakes stayed back then $10. You know what those seats cost this year? And you got some nice food and drink with it, which, oh, that's great. You had to pay $425 to buy those, and in the past it was $315. So even if you include inflation, you are still talking about tremendous price gouging here, and they're just on par with all the other events except the Derby and the Preakness. The Derby and the Preakness are even worse. So I will give NYRA credit for one thing. They're still cheaper than the other 2 Triple Crown races. That doesn't give them the excuse for being this bad and going up this much in such a short period of time. Why do they do it? Because they know they can get away with it. So it's just more of a screw you to the people that come all the time on those big days, that for that one day when you're supporting them so much, you still have to pay that much money. And let's talk about one other thing, speaking of people that come all the time. What about the season passes this year? Season passes did not go on sale until people like me begged them to be on sale. And not even for me, for the people that go all the time, because it saves them a great deal of money to do so. I actually did the math. If you went every day in the spring and fall, you'd be losing hundreds and hundreds of dollars by not being able to get the season pass. And I know people that go every day. I know them by name. So there are people who would take advantage of this. Well, they eventually did that, but the whole reason I'm making this video when I am, they just announced that Belmont will not be running in the fall because they're going to build a vehicular tunnel into the infield so they could work on the tracks and eventually let people in the infield and eventually install a synthetic track if they want to move racing away from Aqueduct. First of all, I hope Aqueduct never closes and Belmont stays a spring, summer, and fall track, and Aqueduct stays a late fall, winter, and early spring track. I want to get that out of the way first. Second of all, there has been no response from NYRA about people getting refunds for season passes, and this is something that happened days ago. And number 3, it's just a giant FU to not run the races at Belmont in the fall and to run them at Aqueduct. They want to build a tunnel. I'm a civil engineering student. You need to dig deep under a surface when you build a tunnel. If they're concerned about structural integrity of the racetrack as they're building this tunnel, they shouldn't be. It shouldn't interfere with the 9 or 10 races being run a day, plus a little bit of training over it. They have 3 dark days a week to work during normal hours on the track, on the tunnel. I don't understand why they need to move the entire meet away. I hear they're going to start during Saratoga. At least they're getting a move on it. At least it looks like they're going to be back here for the spring summer meet next year, from wire to wire, the whole thing, and not move anything else. But I just think it's a little fishy that the Belmont Fall Championship meet, which is a pretty short meet, you can't work around that with the tunnel. You have to move it away. I find it really funny, and I pretty much can guarantee you that NYRA spends a lot less money running Aqueduct than running Belmont. Aqueduct's a lot smaller. It's an easier place to control. You need less security because there's less floor space. I just think it's easier for them at Aqueduct, and that's a compounded reason as to why this is happening, and it makes me very, very mad. So that's the ugly. Not only have they prohibited what you could take in, they've made Belmont Stakes ticket prices ridiculous, but now they're not even running there in the fall. And I should have brought this up first. They didn't even announce this in advance. I only found out right before the end of the meet, and I didn't want to spoil it because I wanted NYRA to take all the flack from it. Surprisingly, there hasn't been that much flack except from me. Maybe I'm just a crazy lunatic making this video. That's okay, I'm still doing it anyway, and I stand by everything I say. But apparently they knew this for a long time. And what they could have done is told the public earlier, in advance about it, so they would have had to take the flack, yes, but they also probably would have gotten a lot more people out to Belmont those last days of the spring-summer meet because they knew that they wouldn't be going back there in the fall. It would have been actually a pretty good thing for them because they would have gotten more people out there. I don't understand why they held up. I don't understand why they're holding up about partially refunding season passes for Belmont. It's just bad publicity from a company that just seems like they care less and less about the fans year by year. At least that's the impression I'm getting. Maybe I'm overreacting, but Belmont, I used to look at Belmont as the kind of a place where I could pretty much do whatever I want and not worry about anything except losing money. I don't have that feeling anymore. Even the security checking people in, harassing people about the coolers and stuff. Oh, funny story with that. Apparently on Stars and Stripes Day, the security guards at the front were a little nicer and let people in with bigger coolers, and then they got yelled at in the backyard once they were already let in. Those people were not kicked out because they were already there, and I guess they resolved it somehow by yelling at each other, the security and the people. But I heard from my family members that, yeah, that's exactly what happened. So it's a total mess right now. Just let the fans do what they want. We're already taxed the hell on the takeout. We have to pay $4 for pocket programs, $8 for a Belmont Stakes Day program, a lot more for Belmont Stakes tickets. Got to pay for parking now every day too. It's a lot. Horse racing would be nothing without the fans. And Belmont Park would be nothing without its fans. NYRA, show the fans they care starting next year again. Please, you will make a lot of people happy if you do. Let people take in what they want. Don't raise prices anymore. I know you're not going to put them down, but don't raise them anymore. Just show, you say that we appreciate the customers, we appreciate the bettors. Show us you do. Don't just say it. Keep Belmont Park beautiful. Keep it the greatest racetrack on earth. Thank you all very much for listening. Just had to get all that stuff off my chest. August is going to be a pretty lean time for my YouTube channel. I'm just going to have one video out later in the month doing a Travers Day preview, probably a day or two before the Travers. That's all, everybody. Hope you got something from my ideas there. Take care, pay your bills first, and may the odds be ever in your favor.